Oh, my hair's so long. When do I think Games Workshop will drop 9th edition? I answered this question and more in this month's Q&A. It's coming right up. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to keep up to date with the Wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please subscribe and hit the bell button to turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Right, welcome to this month's non-Necron Q&A, where I answer all of your questions from the previous video. Now, if you would like to ask me a question for next month's Q&A, don't forget to ask me that question in the comments box below. And whilst you're there, I have a question for you. So I recently grew a bit of a stubble for a Halloween costume, and my girlfriend liked my stubble. She said it makes me look more manly. So what do you think? Do you like me with a bit of a stubble possibly turning into a beard? Let me know in the comments box below. Okay, so let's get on with these questions. Okay, so the first question is from Brush and Quill. Actually, he's got two questions. The first one is, how do you choose the question in the Q&A intro? That's a good question. How do I choose? I just pick the most compelling question that I think people are going to want to hear, and I go with that question basically. So the one that sounds the most interesting. So that's how I choose it. I just look at the question and think, yeah, I think people really want to know the answer to that. His next question is Athos, Porthos, Aramis and D'Artagnan. Which musketeer are you? I have of course watched the Four Musketeers. I don't necessarily know too much about them. I don't know that I could say which one I am, except which one am I? I'm probably just going to go with D'Artagnan. Off memory, he's the youngster, isn't he? He's just learning, boisterous. Whereas the others are sort of more matured in their abilities, let's say. I don't really know, but I'm going to go with him as my choice. Okay. Right, next question is from HeresyProducktionz, or just Palmer. Awesome channel, by the way, check it out, and of course check out everyone else's channel. There's links to everyone in the description below. Right, Palmer says, I've heard rumours of a 9th edition of 40k on the horizon. You have historically always adopted the new system time and again with enthusiasm. If a new edition was ever released that changed the game so much to what you didn't want, would you ever go back and choose an old edition to play games instead? If so, which would it be? That's a great question. I've been known to play... Oops, forgot to turn that off. Okay, I have been known to play 4th edition as one of my favourite editions. Not necessarily for the rules, but for the missions. I think the missions were the most fun missions that were available. And I've been back and played that, not since 8th edition's come out, just because I haven't had time. Hardly had time to do anything with, sort of got all my other armies. I haven't played them in 8th edition. It's been such a train ride, so much happening so quickly. But certainly 6th, 7th edition I went back, played 4th edition. So I think I would probably play 4th edition. But I don't think I would abandon the new 40k. I would still play it, even if it changed drastically and wasn't really what I was hoping it would be as such, because it's my channel. My channel's about that, and yeah, I'd probably play 4th edition occasionally, but I would embrace the new edition regardless of what it's like. Yeah, I would still embrace it regardless, even if it's so unrecognisable to what we know today. I'd still embrace it. Yeah. Okay, great question. Thank you, Palmer. Right, so the next one is from Victor Kess, and he says, how good is your cooking? Do you like cooking? What is the best dish you can cook? What is your favourite food? Food is very important in the Spanish culture. Okay, going to talk about food. I do like my food, that's for sure. So, how good is your cooking abilities? My cooking abilities are quite reasonable, actually. I'm not one of these people that absolutely loves cooking. I love eating more than cooking, but I can cook, and yeah, it's just the time factor. I think most of the time is the time factor. But yeah, I can certainly cook. Do I like cooking? Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike it, but like I said, it's not like my biggest hobby, you know. I do enjoy cooking with my girlfriend. We cook together, which is, you know, good fun. And you can chat, you know, drink some wine while you're cooking and stuff, and that, you know, it's nice. But yeah, I don't rush home and think, oh yeah, I can't wait to cook tonight. You know, like some people do. You know, I know people like that. What is the best dish you can cook? My best dish? Oh, I'm probably just like most men, really. You know, I can do a mean chili. I do quite nice lasagna, and what's the other one that I can do quite well? Spaghetti bolognese. You know, just the usual stuff, really. Nothing too fancy or flamboyant. I've been thinking about maybe getting back into making some curries, you know, from scratch, because I used to do that, and you know, that is good fun and nice. But yeah, I would say at the moment probably the best dish I can cook. I do a very nice lasagna. I'm not going to say lasagna. What is your favourite food? I like a lot of food. My favourite food is spicy food. Mexican. I like Mexican food. Yeah, I'm going to say Mexican. Okay, great questions about food. Thanks for that. Oh, and feel free to ask me any questions that you like, even if you think that maybe I've been asked it before, like this cooking question. I've had that question before. However, I gave a totally different answer this time. My previous favourite dish was something that my ex-wife used to make. It was an Indonesian dish, and I haven't had that for about 3 years now, and it's no longer my favourite dish. You know, so things change, so don't worry about asking a question which has already been asked, because you more than likely probably get a different answer. So yeah, feel free. Okay, so next question is from Ben Sheppard. Do you often go into competitions in 40k? I remember seeing 1 or 2 videos about competitive days, but not many mentions of you in the competitive scene since. Yeah, I did last year. I think I did 2 tournaments, or I did 1. Anyway, over the last couple of years I have done a few events, and they were my first ones. So I think I've only been to 3 tournaments now, apart from the one I had at my house, but that was more fun than competitive. So 3 tournaments, and I haven't gone this year. One of the reasons for that is I work the weekends, so it's hard for me to get weekends off of work. But also, there's quite a few restrictions in tournaments that having a fairly old school army causes me problems. So, you know, when you're playing with your friends, you do things with your army that you're not allowed to do in tournaments. So, for example, I've got the old school Necron warriors, and I use them as Tesla Immortals. You know, I've got Gauze Immortals, the metal ones, and I used my old school warriors as Tesla Immortals. You know, I wanted those old school models. I went out, got them all on eBay, and you know, with the 8th edition rulebook, Immortals are the way to go. So I use them as Immortals. They look totally different from Warriors, and their guns are totally different from Gore's Immortals, so you can tell what they are. However, in a tournament, certainly the ones that I went to, I wasn't able to use them as Immortals. And then I use the old school Destroyers as Tomb Blades in my friendly games. Well, in the tournament I wasn't able to do that. And then we had the mixed dynasty scenarios where if you had one dynasty, you could have your army painted however you like, but if you used mixed dynasties, then you have to distinguish the two different armies, and you weren't able to do that with changing, say, the base rims of the base or anything like that. So I had so many restrictions that I couldn't really play what I wanted to play. So I haven't been really inclined to play like that, and I'm getting games in with Richard, who obviously is going to tournaments, and we're playing effectively like competitive styled games, and that's enough for me. You know, I prefer playing my friends, really, to be fair, and playing with strangers. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go to any tournaments ever again. It just means that this year I haven't done it. Maybe next year I will. We'll see. But yeah, great question. Thank you for that, Ben. Okay, so next is from Mortis Daemonicus, and he says, when do you think Games Workshop will drop 9th edition? With the new Psychic Awakening, 8th is dragging out now for me, with all the indexes, codexes. Marines have 2, Chaos have 2, chapter approved, now new Marines, Legions, Codex. So much love for the Imperium, but not for the poor Xenos. So I don't know that necessarily dropping 9th edition will help Xenos, but yeah, definitely 8th edition. I found 8th edition tough. Not because I haven't enjoyed it. I've absolutely enjoyed 8th edition. I think it's a great edition. And it's not so much 8th edition, it's more the way it's done, with, as you say, with all the updates, all the different rules. And whilst it's like the easiest game to play, we've still ended up with like so many publications with so many rules in all different places. And 8th edition, for the first time since I've been playing, since 3rd edition, it's been the only edition that I've basically just played one army, which is the Necrons. You know, I've had a couple of games with the other armies, but nothing to any extent. And that's the first time, and the reason for that is just keeping up with everything. It's just really difficult. So, you know, to the point that I've actually been considering, should I just sell some of my other armies? Now, I made a video on should you sell your army, and my question was no, never sell your army, and I'm sticking by that because, you know, the future, who knows the future, but my other armies are looking well out of date, and my Eldar army, my Tyranid army, I just don't have the right units to play 8th edition particularly well with those armies. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. Do I think Games Workshop will drop 9th anytime soon? I've heard they are working on it. I think that 8th has a little bit more life left yet. I'm thinking maybe the end of next year. I'm thinking the end of next year, maybe 9th will drop. Yeah. And I have to then seriously consider what I'm going to do with when it does drop, because when 8th dropped, I made a conscious decision that I was going to play and focus on Necrons, and I certainly did that. I didn't realise it was going to be quite as focused as it was, but yeah, I made a conscious decision to focus on Necrons. Now, if 9th dropped, I could potentially say, right, this edition I'm going to focus on Eldar or Tyranids or Space Wolves. I've got a Space Wolves army. But of course I am quite aware that because of the focus on Necrons, my channel's become very Necron based, which is great because I love my Necrons. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think I'll be forced to just continue to focus on Necrons, and maybe hopefully 9th edition won't be quite as frantic, and I'll have time to play some of the other armies as well, because I would like to play some of my other armies a little bit more. Okay, so great question, thank you for that. Right, next we've got a couple of questions from Basic Miniature Painting, and he says, what one thing don't you like about this hobby? My go-to answer for this question is mould lines. Having said that, where I haven't built that many models recently, when I built my tomb blades, I actually quite enjoyed taking the mould lines off, and I think as long as you don't rush them and you just take your time, then they're fine. I think mould lines are only a problem when you really want to get that model built, so then you've got to take all these mould lines off. For me, when I built my tomb blades, I was just taking my time, going slow, and I actually quite enjoyed doing that. So I'm not going to say that answer this time, so I need to think of a new answer. What one thing don't you like about this hobby? You got me there. What don't I like about this hobby? It's really hard because I do love it. As you know, I'm not really a fluff bunny, but it doesn't mean I dislike the fluff. I think I'm going to go with change. I know things have to change quite a lot, and the Games Workshop have to keep things fresh. But things like the base sizes, you know, changing your bases. As I said, my army is quite old school, and well, I don't know if I said it, was that in the previous video? Anyway, my army is quite old school. I've just recorded the Necron Q&A just before this one. And yeah, like my warriors, for example, are on the small bases, and eventually, especially if you want to go to events, which is another thing about me not going to events, those warriors are probably going to have to be rebased, or at least use some sort of rings to go on them. Sometimes whilst change is good, change also can be incredibly annoying. So yeah, I'm going to go with a bit too much change. Okay, and Jason's second question, sorry, not Jason, Justin. Don't know if I said Jason before. It's late at night, I'm recording this video at, let's have a look at my clock. It's 10 o'clock. Okay, next question is from Justin. I'm totally fluffing this, but I'm not going to edit. You're guessing this raw. What would your perfect job be? My perfect job, when I was younger, I wanted to be a professional snooker player. However, I wasn't good enough, and I wouldn't want that job now, because I travel all around the world, spending loads of time away in hotels, and no, I actually really like my job. I've been in my job since I left school in 1988, and I'm in the same job. I really like it, and I never get up in the morning and think, oh my god, I've got work today. I obviously would like more money, but for me, job satisfaction and enjoyment is the most important thing. Waking up in the morning and not wanting to go to work, and not enjoying going to work, and coming home and still thinking of work, that's like, I wouldn't want to be in that position. So very grateful for my job, and hopefully it will last me till I retire. So yeah, I haven't really got an ideal job. I wouldn't want to do YouTube full time. I enjoy it as a hobby. Yeah, that's it really. I'm just quite happy with my job that I've got, you know. Okay, great question. Okay, next one is from Wooden Spoon Wargaming, And they say, do you think tournaments should have standardised terrain layouts and rules? Okay, so I think this is the devil in deep blue sea, because yes and no. So yes, standardised terrain is great, because it doesn't matter what tournament you go to or what table you play on, all the terrain is the same. Everyone's playing on a level playing field. No, because it's like playing on a table that has fixed terrain features, whereas you can pick the best side of the table, and as you play on the table you get to work out, you know, where the best unit to go on the best terrain feature is. And I think potentially, I mean, obviously we already get, I think basically it would take the tournament level to another step, where you're building lists for terrain as well as all the other stuff that you build. I don't necessarily think it will level the playing field. I think potentially it might benefit certain armies maybe more than other armies. So I think a good mixture. And if I went to tournaments, you know, I want to see tables with terrain. You know, there's nothing worse than going to tournaments and there's like 3 pieces of terrain on the table. You know, you want a good amount of terrain, but I think a variety is good. And okay, yes, it may have an advantage to one army over another, but I don't know that fixed terrain is the answer, although I can certainly see it has advantages. And I bet tournament players would probably say, yes, let's have it all fixed. So we know exactly what's happening. But personally, I think I'd rather see more themed different tables when I go to an event. So when you play on a table, it's like, wow, this looks really cool, and your next game is on a different table that's got a different theme, as long as there's a good amount of terrain down. It's a great question, that, though. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so next is from Charles Salmon, and he says, have you tried the open war cards, and if so, do you like them? I have tried them several times actually, and I do really like them. I think they're quite inventive actually, and yeah, I like the way that it's all random and it can be one-sided, and it's pretty nice being able to say just bring what you want as well. I mean, I've only ever played the open war cards with like a fixed points level, like 2,000 points. However, I know that the open war cards are obviously built around pretty much take what you want, and then if two armies, you know, two opponents turn up, and one's got say 2,000 points, the other one's got 1,000 points, then you know the cards can still cope with that. So yeah, if you just want to have a fun game, then they are actually really good. And as long as both sides know what they're getting into and they're playing, I think ideally you need to be playing not against each other but with each other. You know, you're playing to make an evening of it, you know, a themed game where anything can happen, and it's all the twist of fate is on the cards. And I do like them. I think they're very good, and I'd like to see maybe different versions of them. It'd be pretty cool to have different open war packs, you know, to make it even more random. So you know, you've actually got a choice of say 3 different decks, and they've all got different cards in them. I think that might be quite cool. Okay, so next question is from Paranormal Stupidity, and he says, in regards to events that you are planning, have you invited Wizard Wargaming? I know that he lives pretty far from you, yep, in a different country, but we are well overdue for the inevitable showdown between you two. Okay, so yeah, if you didn't know, I did a little mini tournament at my house to celebrate 10 years on YouTube, and it was a lot of fun. My initial idea was to hire a hall and get as many people as I can there, but it didn't quite work out that way. However, everyone that came to the event suggested that actually it would be good if we had a bigger event, and that they would be willing to sort of chip in some money to help pay for it. And of course, potentially, I think if we went bigger, I'm sure whoever comes would be willing to chip in. So I certainly have been hoping to get another event going. I think it would be super cool. I'd love to meet as many of my subscribers and other YouTubers as I can, because I think it's just fun. And although it would be classed as a tournament, it would be more of a meet-up with games more than anything. But yeah, I haven't invited anyone because that's not been planned yet. But if Wizard Wargaming was able to come, that would be super cool. And yeah, we're definitely due to have a game at some point. Okay, thank you for the question. Next one is from 6543 Dan, who says, what do you think of 3D printing models? Okay, well, I actually had this question in my Necron one, so I won't go over it too much. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of it myself. I wouldn't necessarily have them myself, but I have nothing against them, and I'll play anyone who has a 3D printed models. That's not a problem to me. But personally, I'd rather have the original models myself. Okay, thank you for the question. Next one actually is got a couple of questions. That's from Erutherford, and he says, are you a member of a public 40k community forum Discord server? Ever thought of having your YouTube army having their own forum to exchange ideas? Okay, are you a member of a 40k community? I'm a member of lots of Facebook groups, and including my own, the Wargamers Unification. Search us on Facebook, IDICBeer 40k Wargamers Unification. Forums, I was on the Fritz forum for a while, but I just don't get time now for forums, and I don't always, I mean, when I was on the forums, it was to find out about tactics and learning about my new armies that I had, which I don't really need that now, so I don't need that support. And Discord, I don't do Discord. I know it's like the in thing. I set up an account and I hated it. I found it very difficult to use. I got notifications and I think emails, like so many emails from them. I know you can turn off notifications. But it just wasn't for me. I just prefer Facebook personally. So yeah, you won't see me on Discord. No. Okay, here's the second question is, there is a stateside 40k tournament with a house rule concerning flyers and terrain. Excuse me. Basically, if you have a fly and vehicle units that measures from the hull for distance, then the whole thing has to fit on the building. The assumption is for no hangover. What are your thoughts? For your information, I like the idea of throwing out wobbly models for flyers at the top of a building. Ruins just fine. My thoughts are, though, if the base fits with no overhang, then that should be sufficient. If a part of the building is hitting your hull so that the model is wobbly, then I'm okay with getting rid of that too. Having the part about any of the model hanging over the building, though, is way too far in my book. So yeah, I've obviously heard about this, and I saw the picture of these tanks on the occasionally balancing on the top of a building, and they're sort of totally overhanging, and it's total cheese, but within the rules previously. It's a hard one, isn't it? I think just a tank shouldn't be able to do it. I think if it has the fly special rule, then as long as you can physically put your model there. I mean, I appreciate wobbly model syndrome means that if your model goes, for me personally, if you put your model on there and it's wobbly but it is able to sit there, you can let go, then that's fine, and I'd be quite happy for you to say, well, take your model off and we'll just put the base there. But if you can't physically put your model on there, then I don't think you should be able to put your model on there. I don't think you should be able to take the model off the base and just have the base on there if the model won't actually like fit. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I think the visuals have to come into it as well. You have to be able to look at it and think, is that realistic? And clearly a tank at the top of a building isn't realistic. So I can certainly see where the tournament's coming from, but I think they have taken it, like you say, I think it's a bit excessive. And yeah, I quite like your idea, I suppose. I mean, that could work, although I'm thinking at my Tomb Blades. I mean, the Citadel building, not my Tomb Blades, my Doomsday Arcs. I mean, the Citadel buildings, they're not quite big enough to put a flying base on. They do hang over slightly, but they sit on there okay. So it's a hard one, isn't it? Obviously the ruling is a bit extreme, and they've done it for a particular reason. Hopefully some sort of sensible solution can happen to solve the issue. Basically someone taking advantage of the rules, like those tanks on top of the building. Okay, so thank you everyone for the question, and don't forget, if you've got any questions to ask me for next month's Q&A, then pop them down in the comments box below. In the meantime, here is the Necron Q&A that I recently uploaded, and if you're not subscribed yet, start now and hit the IDICBeer icon. Beam me up.